Good morning, everybody. Today is February 10th, 2020. We're not far from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training, and we got the latest PECOTA projections. If you're not familiar with PECOTA, they project baseball standings every year, and right now they project the Yankees with the highest chance of winning their division of any team in baseball. They project the Yankees to have 97 wins. That's second only to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who they project to have 102 wins. And for what it's worth, they project the Rays to be 11 games back of the Yankees in the American League East. But as we all know, you can't predict baseball, Susan. Now, it being February, there is little chance that the Yankees will make any major moves going forward this offseason. There's still a chance that they could bring back Brett Gardner if the two sides could come to an agreement. But right now, it looks like left field is going to be up for Clint Frazier or Mike Tauchman to battle it out. Perhaps a little Estevan Florial mixed in should one of those guys get hurt. And Trevor Rosenthal is still out there as a relief pitcher, but I think they're probably done adding to the bullpen as well with the Darren O'Day signing. But the Yankees have surprised me in February before. In 1999, they traded David Wells for Roger Clemens. They also included Graham Lloyd and Homer Bush, two valuable pieces of the 1998 World Series championship team. And who could forget 2004 when, right around Valentine's Day, the Yankees traded Alfonso Soriano, coming off back-to-back near 40-40 seasons, to the Texas Rangers for Alex Rodriguez. That was a result of current Yankees manager Aaron Boone tearing his knee up in a basketball game. So moves can be made in February. Doesn't usually happen, but sometimes it does. So stay tuned. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the Yankees' current third baseman, Gio Urshela, a guy who I feel is somewhat underrated by baseball fans around the league, but Yankees fans know that this guy can really play. Since he was acquired by Brian Cashman for cash considerations, he's really stepped up. And he really stepped up in a big way when Miguel Andujar got hurt a couple of years ago. He had surgery in the offseason to remove a bone chip from his elbow, but had a great year once again in 2020 despite missing some time with the aforementioned elbow injury. Batted .298 with 6 home runs and 30 RBIs, and was once again terrific on defense. His OPS was .858. And for all of the talk of the Yankees signing Manny Machado a few years back, Gio has put up basically Machado-level production for a fraction of the cost. He posted a 2.1 wins above replacement in 2020 in just 43 games. And over a full 162-game season, that projects to a 7.8 WAR. Overall, in 2 seasons with the Yankees, his OPS is .133. That puts him 33% above league average. Outstanding. His defensive stats, while impressive, .5 wins above replacement or defensive wins above replacement 2 years ago, and then .7 in 2020, are one of the reasons why I don't really trust the defensive metrics yet, because this guy is way better than that. Just watching him, he's one of the best third basemen I've ever seen in baseball. Definitely one of the best I've ever seen for the Yankees in my 30-plus years. He's a better third baseman than Alex Rodriguez. He's a better third baseman than Robin Ventura. He's a better third baseman than Wade Boggs, and he's a better third baseman than Scott Brosius. Those are the main starting third basemen. Obviously, we had Kevin Youkilis for a bit. Obviously better than Kevin Youkilis. So, Gio Urshela is a guy who I think could be a major impact for the Yankees this year if he comes back strong. He is not going to be ready for the beginning of spring training, but he says, and Brian Cashman and the coaching staff says, that he should be ready for opening day. So keep him on your watch list for your fantasy league team, because he could be a guy that you could pick up at a value and really get some production out of. By the way, Gio posted some pictures on Instagram of these new hats with this new logo that he's got. That's how you know he's made it. He's got his own brand. Looking good. I might have to get me one of those hats. Next, I want to talk about the bullpen. This was a request from a viewer. A few weeks back, the Yankees traded Adam Ottavino to the Red Sox. Kind of an odd move. You don't see a lot of trades between the Yankees and the Red Sox. But they made up for it right away by signing Darren O'Day. Darren O'Day is a guy I advocated for the Yankees trading for at the deadline. Obviously, the Braves didn't want to give him up because they were a contender, and he's a very valuable pitcher. He's another sidearm, kind of submarine-type guy. He's really more sidearm now that I've watched him a few times. From a distance, it looks like he's throwing kind of submarine, but he really just angles his body in a certain way that it looks like it's submarine, but his arm is actually more sidearm. But I still think he's going to be a very effective pitcher for the Yankees. They do have Aroldis Chapman coming back in the closer role. He doesn't throw as hard as he used to. He's more 97, 98, 99, occasional 100. Back when he was with Cincinnati, you saw him consistently at 103, 104 miles an hour. Every once in a while, you might see him dial it up to 101, 102, usually on a hot day when he's really loose. My confidence in Aroldis Chapman kind of waxes and wanes. I feel like in the postseason, he's been pretty unreliable. He's given up season-ending home runs 2 years in a row. Gave up that big 3-run home run to Rajai Davis in the 7th game of the World Series for the Cubs. So he's a guy that, I'm just not super confident in. Chad Green is another guy we've got coming back. He's a guy who was pretty good last year. He's been pretty consistent, but he's going to be as successful as his spin rate allows him to be. He has been working on a curveball, breaking ball with pitching coach Matt Blake. We saw it a little bit last year. I don't think he used it enough. He does have a really high spin rate fastball, so he sneaks his fastball by guys at like 96, 97. They swing at it like it's 100. And that can be a very valuable pitch, but as you get older and your velocity decreases, then you're going to need to add in another pitch, and I think that's what he's doing with Matt Blake. Zach Britton will be back in 2021. That was pretty much the first move that the Yankees took care of this winter, was they exercised their option on Zach Britton, and with good reason. He's been very good with the Yankees. He's been very good for a long time. He was great with the Orioles, one of the best closers in baseball. He relies on a heavy sinker at 95, 96, sometimes 97 miles an hour. Does have a bit of a slider that he will throw to lefties. He's gotten better at spotting that over the years. I wish the Yankees would use him in more high leverage situations instead of just using him in the 7th and 8th innings. I wish they would go to him in like the 5th or 6th inning if they need a double play ball, because sometimes the game can be decided in the middle parts of the game when you've got men on base, maybe one out. You'd hate to have somebody in there to give up a 3-run home run and it changes the game. It's not a bad time to go to an effective reliever. We saw that with the Rays last year. They're not afraid to use their bullpen, their best relievers, in high leverage situations, and not so much sticking to these predetermined inning roles. Another guy that I'm very excited to watch continue to develop is Johnny Lasagna, Jonathan Loaisiga. I know Yankees fans are kind of split on him because when he came up, he didn't have success right away. He came up as a starter, got hit around a few times. But he's a guy who has a fastball 97, 98 miles an hour, good hook that he buries in the dirt, good changeup that he can throw to lefties. He is kind of a small stature, and so he's been injured a lot because the shorter you are, the more stress you put on your shoulder in order to generate velocity. So if you're a little guy and you're throwing 97, 98 miles an hour, generally it's going to create strain on your shoulder. We have seen him have some shoulder problems in the past, but hopefully pitching coach Matt Blake and strength and conditioning coach Eric Cressy can continue to work on him to keep him healthy and keep that big arm in the bullpen, because he does have lights out stuff. He just needs to harness it and continue to improve. Nick Nelson is one of the younger guys who made an impression with me last year. He made his debut against Boston. We all saw what kind of stuff he had. He touched 98. He had a good hook. He had good command. He had a good changeup. He did get hit around once or twice, but those are growing pains. That's going to happen to young pitchers. He came up as a starter. He hasn't pitched in the bullpen that much, but I think he's got a future in the bullpen, especially the way teams are going to more relievers that can all bring that high octane velocity. He certainly has that. The Yankees don't have a spot for him in the rotation unless somebody gets hurt. So look for Nick Nelson to make an impact in the bullpen. Also, Domingo Germán is a guy who, if he doesn't make the rotation, I've spoken about this on my live streams, he's got lights out stuff too. He can touch 97 with a fastball. He's got a good hook. That's really all you need to be a good relief pitcher. He also throws a changeup. He hasn't pitched in a while, so it might be good to ease him back in through the bullpen. Fingers crossed that he can keep his head on his shoulders and continue to develop, because I think that Domingo Germán has a bright future. Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Aaron Hicks. So Aaron Hicks had a ton of value for the Yankees the last few years. Obviously, he's missed some time due to injuries. He had the Tommy John surgery, but he's a really good defender. He gets on base a lot, but his batting average has declined. It's trended in the wrong direction. We know that the Yankees don't put a ton of stock in batting average, but you'd like to see it kind of at least stay consistent. He's been falling year after year. He does have a little bit of power. We know he's a great defensive player. Who could forget that series against the Twins a couple of years ago? But for some reason, Aaron Hicks just seems polarizing to me. some days I really like Aaron Hicks and what value he brings to the team. I do like that he works the count. He's obviously a switch hitter, so he can bring pop from the left side of the plate, something that the Yankees sorely need. But he just doesn't seem very aggressive at the plate. I guess you can't be super picky and also be aggressive at the same time. But a lot of times he seems to, at least with men on base, let a couple of pitches go by early in the count that I feel like he could swing at and maybe do some damage, because it seems like he's up there trying to walk or trying to pass the baton when we know he has the skill set to do a little bit of damage. I wish he would be a little bit more aggressive at the plate. I do love his defense. I think he brings a ton of value defensively to the Yankees. He had a great arm for a while. Last year, returning from Tommy John surgery, it was pretty obvious to me that he didn't have that weapon. He just seemed kind of uncomfortable to let the ball go. He said during this offseason, that his arm still doesn't feel 100%. That's obviously concerning. But I think Aaron Hicks will get the job done for at least another year or two, as long as he can stay on the field. And if he somehow has to come out of the lineup, at least you have somebody like Mike Tauchman who can slide in there. You've got Estevan Florial, who has the speed to play center field, so he's a backup. Greg Allen, who's a switch hitter, who's kind of a depth piece. But we know that Brian Cashman likes to get these guys who seem like depth pieces that really turn their careers around once they come to New York. But in my opinion, Aaron Hicks is just kind of keeping center field warm for Jason Dominguez, who should arrive in 2022, 2023, depending on how well he does in the minor leagues. But he's such a young man that you gotta really give him time to develop. He still hasn't played a minor league game. He might struggle out of the gate. He might struggle dealing with this pressure, but something tells me that Jason Dominguez is the real deal. From everything I've seen, he's got the physical tools, he's got the makeup. I think Jason Dominguez is going to take over for Aaron Hicks within 2 years, so I'm ultimately not that concerned with Aaron Hicks. So you may remember that Derek Jeter was inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago and missed being unanimous by just one vote. He's finally going to get his induction ceremony. They announced the date, July 25th, 2021, so mark that on your calendar to DVR that. There should be a lot of ex-Yankees in attendance. He's great friends with Tino Martinez, Jorge Posada, Hideki Matsui. All these guys hang out all the time. And I really love Derek Jeter, but I still just feel weird that he's a member of the Marlins organization. I wish that he had just bought a basketball team or something if he wanted to call the shots, because this is a guy who should have been a forever Yankee. It's weird seeing him and Don Mattingly, my two favorite players ever, and they're with the Miami Marlins of all teams. By the way, shout out to Donnie Baseball, a guy that Brian Cashman didn't want to hire as manager because he was too inexperienced, won the 2020 National League Manager of the Year with the upstart Miami Marlins. Another thing that I want to talk about, and this is my final topic for today, is Bernie Williams. Bernie Williams is a guy who I don't feel like gets enough credit for his contributions to the team during the 90s dynasty. Bernie was a guy who came up and established himself in New York at a time when not many guys were doing that. During the 80s, George Steinbrenner liked to trade away all his young players for established veterans, guys who would pretty much unfailingly get worse once they joined the Yankees. But Bernie Williams came up and had success. It took him a few years to really come into his own, but in 1995, he really established himself. He made a name for himself during that 1995 playoff series against the Mariners. Obviously, 96, he had a very nice year with 29 home runs. Homers from both sides of the plate in the playoffs multiple times. I don't think anybody else has ever done that. And Bernie was so graceful in center field, it just kind of mirrored his personality. This kind of relaxed guy who plays this classical acoustic guitar. And even though it's known as the Core 4, I really feel like it should have been the Core 5 or Fab 5 or whatever moniker you want to give it, because that dynasty would not have happened without Bernie Williams. He won the batting title in 1998. He was just so great for the Yankees, a switch hitter that lived in the middle of the lineup, really balanced out that lineup, and he was so clutch in the postseason. There's even a Yes Network Yankeeography that compiles all of his different postseason accolades because he was so consistently good in the postseason. So I just wanted to say it's a shame that he only lasted one round on the Hall of Fame balloting. I don't think he was a Hall of Famer, but I do think that he should have gotten more love than just one vote. Give him a few rounds just because he earned it. You know, playing center field for a dynasty and being that valuable to a team that won multiple championships, it's not that common, and I think Bernie deserves more recognition. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps other Yankees fans find the channel.